You gave an example of Canada earlier. I'm just curious on the cases where you've investigated. What happens to these Botswana when they get to Canada who are being trafficked?
And one thing that I've noticed with the younger generation is they are secretive. They like it when all of a sudden ba post go airport ba to get a surprise. Oh, why didn't you tell us where you're going to Dubai? And many a times as youth would be thinking, no, we're being secretive, we're going to surprise people, but in you doing so, you're not exposing yourself to people who might know what
might be able to help you. Yeah,
people who might be able to say, we've walked down this road.
There are those who will be coached with visa asylum, right? But others who have been recruited when they get there, they are taken straight away to the brothel. We had a case where a certain Zimbabwean trafficked children, they were on their way to, I think, Ireland, and they were intercepted in Joburg. When children were asked, how le Motswana how go dumela, a child is not responding to dumela. And then this child is puzzled. And the immigration personnel had to call Botswana to say, we are retaining these people because we suspect this man is trafficking these kids. Only to learn or realize after investigating that they were kidnapped from Zimbabwe, from the school. Somebody went there and took 3 kids and then came to Botswana, ababa biza maina amusaidu na rikibonga bana ba gago.
This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Let me welcome you, dear viewer, dear listener, once again to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast, the legal series. This is a series in which we're trying to raise awareness about legal issues and matters of law that affect you on a day-to-day basis. And today we're going to touch on a very painful subject, the subject of human trafficking, the subject of trading in human beings, which is really a modern form of slavery. And we're going to talk about how it can be combated and what the legal infrastructure is for that. So please listen to the end, because you never know when you're going to pick some juicy nuggets. In the meantime, do me the honor of just striking that subscribe button and as well as the notification bell. Also not forgetting the likes. Give us a few likes so that we can work on these algorithms and keep coming back to give you more powerful content. Let me start by introducing my guests. I'll start on my immediate left right here. I'm doing that because the law firm from which he comes is the one that is powering this particular show. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mogobe. My name is Kudakwashe Chihita. I'm an attorney at Lerumo Legal Practitioners. I've been practicing there for over 2 years. We specialize in a variety of areas, from your commercial law, contracts, arbitrations, labor. We're a diversified law firm. I'm also a master's candidate with the University of Botswana. It's great being here. Thank you, Mr. Mogobe, for having me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Next to him is
Osenotse, Mabote, the Chief Marketing Officer at Mogobe Incorporated. Ke motebekile ha go tla go bua mo boemong jwa setšhaba gore dikgantse tsa go gweba ka batho rona re le setšhaba di raya magole kae le gore gongwe re botswe ka megopolo gore rona re akantse gore go ka tweng go bolela ba melao jalo.
Over to you, madam.
And good afternoon once again. My name is Assistant Supretendant Messiah Makola from the Botswana Police Service under the Gender and Child Protection Branch. I am the expert in the field of human trafficking, that I have been dealing with for the past 15 years when I was under Interpol, where we were investigating cases of human trafficking. And I also, over and above that, I'm a trainer of the regional police in this issue of human trafficking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's start with the basics. Definition. How do we define human trafficking? Should I ask the lawyer or should I ask the expert?
Well, I can give
I think I'm better placed.
Yeah, I agree.
Trust me with that one.
Yes.
Well, she's an expert for over 15 years.
The definition of trafficking persons is very broad and is very long. If you can look at it, you will see it is so long. I can't just say everything about it. But the key points are trafficking persons is defined as the recruitment, the transportation, the transfer, the harboring, and the receipt of any person who has been deceived, who has been coerced, who has been threatened, or any fraudulent means to move him from one place to another for the purpose of exploitation. So when we talk of human trafficking, we should be having three elements. That is the what part, what happened, what really transpired. The recruitment and transportation and transfers will form the part of the act, what happened. And the how part is the means, how was it done? That is through coercion, through deception, and then, but why? Why are you doing that? For the purpose of exploitation. Without exploitation, we cannot have human trafficking. In fact, we term it trafficking in persons, not human trafficking. Thank you, sir.
Trafficking persons.
Is there a distinction between persons and human?
I think it's just to play around with words, but nowadays we prefer trafficking in persons than human trafficking.
Trafficking persons.
Why are we even talking about it? How serious an issue is it?
This, like you have said, it's a modern day slavery. It's like it violates the human rights. And having discovered that so many people rights are being violated through this thing, everyone that like the world is up against it. So that is just to protect the rights of people.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Mabote, how do an average Motswana come across the subject, and what is your exposure to the subject?
Tota mo Botswana ke tsa gore go irwa e tla ya iphihile gore ya iriwa ka gore ga go re nna ke se go ngabele gone go sotla ka kwa batho motho gona gore ngwana a tsewe ko merakeng go lata content tse tsa bogala ga dine go tlele se le gore go dirwe jalo ngwana wa tsewa go gala ga di go motho gona go tsaya ngwana go gala ga di a re wa go mo tsenya sekwele go ra bona ba kwa ba le go tsa ba re nya ta ke tseng ngwana ke go mo tsenya sekwele kana ke go lo mo tlhokomelela ga tsa ngwana ba mo tsa go ba mo tsisa mo kanya go sa ntse le anda age kana sa ntse le monyenyane hela ha ba tsana go le ko wa be gore ngwana ga iswe sekwele wa go tsewa ba berekisiwa a bereka go le garden boy kana bereka ile maid ha gongwe e re ha le gore na tsewa le mogolwanyane le gore e na tsewa go tie go nna maid jalo a tla yana go tsana go twa go tla se se go twa go bereka go shopo a ba ta no ga sa dire sena go twa go se bereka go shopo na go berekiswa mo lwapeng ene re lo na mo tsera a go merekisa go lwapeng khantile jaanong ka o gana dithata o mo lwapeng lwa mention ya lo motho na kana go go phakalane ha mosadi a tswa jana ya tirong o sala tsa ene mosadi ona wene wa tswa go motsa kwano a mo dirisa jaaka ete ke mosadi wa gago ke go dintse go ra di le mo ga mo a tsela Botswana.
Okay. Mr. Kuda, are you aware of the various forms of human trafficking, or the form that it takes, the trafficking in persons?
Okay. As of recent, there has been, or rather, from time immemorial, people have always thought that there are better pastures, greener pastures overseas. That has always been the general perspective of people. So many a times when people are trafficked, they are trafficked while being deceived with that element of deceit, that as we are taking you abroad, there is a better job opportunity. There is a job for you. We're going to help you start a company. You'll be working in a hotel, or we'll get you a family that will stay with you and take you to school, especially with youngsters. So just to mention a few, of course, the inspector will, the assistant superintendent will give more, since she deals with this on a day-to-day basis. But then right now, this is how people are being trafficked overseas to Iraq, Iran, many other Asian and most likely American countries. People are taken there with the impression that, or with the promise that when they get there, they are being given a job. They are being given a better job. They are being taken to school.
Yeah.
So this is it.
Yeah, the superintendent can perhaps help us by telling us the type of cases that you've come across, showing the various forms that this human trafficking takes.
When I defined trafficking in persons, I spoke of the purpose being exploitation. One would wonder, how are people being exploited? And we are having various exploitation that occurs. That is sexual exploitation, labor exploitation, and organ removal.
Oh no.
Not that in Botswana we had such a case. We never had one. And false marriages and forced marriages that occur. But in our country so far, we had cases of for the purpose of sexual exploitation and labor exploitation. Yes.
And is it widespread? And I suppose that before I even ask how widespread is, how is it different from things like smuggling, things like kidnapping and so on?
Yeah, rightly so, they differ. But previously, people thought it's one and the same thing, and there is a lot of distinction. When you talk of smuggling, that is within the Anti-Human Trafficking Act. It was inserted after the amendment of the act, when it was left out, thinking human trafficking means smuggling. So during amendment, that is when the definition was clearly defined. So smuggling of migrants or persons is like you are moving from one country to another. It will have to involve another country, moving from one country to another through illegal means.
Yes.
Not through it's through ungazetted points. And with smuggling, there is no exploitation. In fact, the smuggler is the one who proposes, it initiates the movement that, can you take me from Botswana to another country? It's not like in human trafficking, where one has to be recruited by the perpetrator.
Yes.
Also, the person who benefits is the smuggler, benefits by taking you to another country illegally. You have to pay that person. But after you reach that place, there is no relationship between the smuggler and the smuggler. But in human trafficking, there is always the relationship. It stands there forever. Because that victim of trafficking is supposed to be working for the trafficker for the rest of his or her life.
Okay. So how widespread is it in Botswana in terms of understanding the volume of cases, or both detected and undetected?
The statute is of 2014. Remember, it was of 2014, and it started being implemented or enforced in 2015. And what forced Botswana to have that statute is because previously, before 2014, there were Botswana moving from Botswana to other countries for greener pastures. And if you can recall well, in 2008, most of Botswana were moving to Canada. They were moving to Canada in large numbers, leaving their jobs in Botswana, thinking that there are greener pastures there. We had those cases, and because the law was not there then, the only thing or the only statutes that were used were the immigration laws, the employment laws, and because we investigated and realized that Botswana are being trafficked to other countries, hence we ended up having the instrument to protect them against that. And Canada also, we were going there with no the requirements of visas, and that was the time they required visas from us. And the cases, they are there. We are having some cases that have been taken before court before, and some were prosecuted and convicted because of trafficking. But most of the cases are of smuggling. There are people who have been smuggled from, for instance, from Zimbabwe, from Ethiopia. Most of them, they've been smuggled through our country. So
Being taken where?
So to other countries, especially South Africa.
Why through our country? What are they taking advantage
So
of?
it's like the Botswana is a transit route. In trafficking persons, there is the place of origin, where the victim is coming from, and the place of transit, where the victim is transiting, and finally the place of destination, where the exploitation occurs. So we believe because of some porous borders, that is why maybe they prefer transiting Botswana. But ever since the enactment of the Act, there are strict laws at the borders where most of the criminals are being arrested from the borders. Yes.
You touched on this, but I want you to expand a bit on what pieces of legislation or laws exist that govern this area.
We have the anti-human trafficking of 2014,
Yes.
It's an act.
which is the key.
Yes.
And of course the Children's Act, which punishes child trafficking. Yes.
Those are the two.
Yes.
Okay. And what are the punishments? Do you know what the sanctions are if someone is caught, and how has the law been applied?
The anti-human trafficking was amended in 2018, and I think it's also in 2022. That was to do away with the issue of fines, and it's only imprisonment, which is the not more than, it's more of not more than 25 years, not more than 30 years. This means one can be convicted anything less than 25 years.
Even 6 months.
Unfortunately, I think it's something that has to be looked into to have a minimum sentence instead of a maximum sentence.
Yes.
Yes.
And the few cases where there have been convictions, how much time have they been getting, the perpetrators of this wicked crime?
I know of a 10-year imprisonment. Yes, the maximum that I know.
And what were the facts there?
It was labor exploitation. The girl was trafficked from a certain country to Botswana to come and study in Botswana, and only to work as a maid. And after some months, when we do our raids, she was arrested, and only to find that she's not she can never be an accused person but a victim of trafficking. She had
Right.
to say why she's staying in Botswana without legal documents. Yes.
And this person confessed that there was clear proof and everything.
No, you mean the perpetrator?
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't confess. We had to investigate it with that information that we collected, even from the place of origin, helped for him to be convicted.
Okay.
Because he was apparently using somebody's travel documents, not her documents.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kuda, are you able to enlighten us on the international position? What treaties exist that deal with this issue, and to which Botswana may or may not be a signatory?
Yes, there are quite a number. There are a number of international treaties and conventions which prohibit the trafficking of human beings. At an African level, we have the African Charter to start with. We also have the Palermo Protocol. We also have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is known as the CEDAW or CEDAW. We also have the CRC, which is
which one is that?
CRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Yes, it generally speaks to, or rather prohibits, the trafficking of children, and encourages all states, member states, to put into place laws and measures that are meant to curb the trafficking of children. So those are some of the laws. We also have a SADC protocol, which also does, or rather, which prohibits the trafficking of human beings, but more fully at a SADC level and seeking SADC cooperation.
So is it fair to say most of the perpetrators are foreigners? Given the way that there's an origination and
No.
transition, the way you explained.
No, because I carry also have this crime happening in our country. If I can make, I'll give you an example. People may come from a foreign land for greener pastures. Botswana is also having greener pastures for some other foreigners. So when they come here, Obo Bahira, to build you a house,
Mogobe.
to build you a house, knowing that person is an illegal immigrant, do you know what you do? How painful it is. After completing that house, you just move. Who are you? Mabote, this man Ghana is an illegal immigrant. You are not even concerned about how much you are going to pay for you having employed him and him having been working for you, right? So you pay for working in Botswana without those permits and employing a non-citizen. That is going to be something like 2,000, 3,000. And how much is the value of the house that he has built for you? So gone are the days where we will charge you for what is that charge? Failure to pay wages. Failure using that Employment Act.
Yes.
Failure to pay wages because you did not pay somebody what he was supposed to earn from you. So we charge you with human trafficking, that you have exploited that person. Bona ba epa masimo a lona ba ntsha metswere ga ba tshwanetse ba hetsa wa rwa go ba tshwarisa. We charge you with human trafficking.
And it can result in those 10 years.
Yes. Yes.
Mr.
And the example that he has given, that taking, we used to think trafficking persons means moving from Botswana to South Africa, not knowing from Khanzi to Kanye can be trafficking persons also. And that one also happens for our smaller children who comes in here for studies, and only to employ her or make her be your slave. Yes.
Mr. Mabote, is the law fair in this regard, or do you believe that it need to be tightened?
ke re go tote ignorance of the law ga se excuse mme ke bona ka re ke re ba ka mosing re le bantsi Botswana ba le bantsi ba go herela mo toronkong ka inspector ke ka Supretendant a buang ka teng ka gore bona o tla bo ipona motho ya la tla re o re yona o dirisa yo human element ya la gore kana motho ke wa mmana o tla kwa o tla tshwerwe ke tlala gore a re ke kopa gore bogolo ke go tlhobele go tla ra ke se ke je sepe o mpasongonyana bogolo ke a heta a gongwe Batswana ba lebela ga bana go lebela gore ga ona dipampiri gore go na di dilo tse e leng gore ga motho a di dira go o tlala go toga kwa kontraka ya ka nna tla matona go tsaya kana ka yone ya ga re Mogobe a bo tlala o hirile batho ba e leng gore ga bana dipampiri ke tsa gore go be molao o tlhamaletse gore o ka dira no kana gore molao ne ke molao jaanong ga o etsa motho o itlhela motho ra iphetela gare o kopa peace job a go tlhobela ka go tlhoka lesego mapodisi bo ba heta go bo ba gore ba re kana motho o gana dipampiri mme o mo hirile ke yona o dimela gore mo hirile a bo a go tlhatlhelwa 10 years.
And to correct you on that one, if you employ that person and you pay him, then we will charge you with the Employment Act. But if you don't pay that person, then it becomes human trafficking. Yes.
Because of exploitation.
Okay.
Because that person has worked for you, now you haven't paid that person.
nyame molao ke tsa gore ra o ntse alo o sireletsa mongwe le mongwe ke dimela gore ra o ntse alo ke ba le mago kwa me ka morago gore go lebega molao wa teng o tla bo siame o sireletsa mongwe le mongwe ka gore ga ka jwa berekisa motho go gana go mo duela go mo ga se sethomo o dira gore mapodisi a gore ke molao le Botswana o diralo o dikile thata.
What are the statistics saying about the prevalence of this crime compared to South Africa or Southern Africa in general? Is there an indication of how serious the problem is in Botswana?
It suggests that since most of the victims are from Africa, are from Southern Africa, even our Botswana people are being trafficked elsewhere, it gives us a reason to say we cannot say we are spared from human trafficking. It occurs and our people are being victims of trafficking. So it is there, and the reason why we are trying to tighten the laws is because we want to protect the same people that are being trafficked. Some may not know that they're being trafficked, but the laws will help them not to be trafficked easily. And normally we receive some calls from these people who are being trafficked to say, can you check with me if I'm not being trafficked? People are like trying to be cautious now, or this might be a trap for me.
How do you do that? How do you check for them?
Sometimes we try to say, avoid going to places and communicating with people that you do not know. Okay. And as much as we may think it's upon you, it's up to you to ensure go safe. We will try also to be in touch with other countries to say, can you check with me if there is a company like this? What is it doing? Is there a proper job for this individual? Yes, but everything lies upon you to ensure that where you are going is the proper place for you to go.
You gave an example of Canada earlier. I'm just curious on the cases where you've investigated. What happens to these Botswana when they get to Canada who are being trafficked?
Like I said, that when somebody's been trafficked, there is deception. So some are deceived to go there on the pretext that there are jobs available for them. And they are being coached from home to say, but when we reach there, just claim that you are an asylum seeker. the asylum seeker status will allow the country to take care of you while you are still looking for a job. And our investigations were like, so how do you trust the information that you got from Botswana who said, I'm an asylum seeker? What are they saying they are running away from? The reasons were because of domestic violence from Botswana. That is why I'm running away from that perpetrator. Some of the reasons were, I'm a gay and I want to marry. In Botswana, you are not allowed to marry when you are of this
Sexual orientation.
Yes, these are some of the reasons that they advance for them to be given that status of being an asylum seeker. And only to learn after some time that what they were recruited for in that country is not what is in place. And some of them likely they came back, but some they are still there because they declared themselves as asylum seekers. So we are still having Botswana there who are asylum seekers in
And what's
in
happening to
Canada.
them? What's
They'll be-
actually being, are they in the farms? Are they sexual slaves?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Some are in the farms harvesting bo granadilla and ba bangwe ne ba re ne ba kgaola dipidipidi maleme tiro ya bone le gone go dira jalo. It's not something se se leng gore
Mr. Mabote,
ke a
is
se
this not a
akanyetsa
laughable
re se-
issue?
Yeah, re se diragetse. And well, others were in brothels.
Seriously?
Yes.
Females or males?
Most of them obviously will be females. Like females are easily deceived. Yeah. Why are we easily deceived? Is because we're not done now to ke ngwana morago re mama ke tshwere ke tala monna so. So ha go ta sengwe go twe, here is something for you to make ends meet.
How does an asylum seeker end up in a brothel?
After staying in those camps as asylum seekers, they are allowed to look for some jobs. Yeah, it's not that they will be staying like refugees where they are closed in there.
And how are they forced into, say, prostitution then?
This scenario there are those who will be coached with visa asylum, right? But others who have been recruited when they get there, they are taken straight away to the brothel.
And there you can't talk, you can't run away, you're beaten and everything.
In trafficking, there are control measures that traffickers use. How you are being controlled not to move away from your trafficker. Like you trust that person even if wa go exploit. That is to say, when a go tsetse your travel documents, where else can you go? When a sa go duele, how are you going to travel? The only route is for you to escape, and escaping is not easy when you are told, if you escape, I'm going to report you to the immigration that you got your passport fraudulently. So those are control measures. That
And you'll be locked up.
Yes.
Is there an idea of how many Botswana are in this situation, and what can we do for them?
Which Botswana?
The ones who are stuck in brothels and such unmentionable places in foreign lands.
I think those who have declared themselves, when you declare yourself an asylum seeker or a refugee, you are simply saying, let my country not know where I am. And your documents are being taken from you, and you are given those documents for asylum seeker or a refugee. So unless or if they feel gore, I want to disclose gore, I was in fact trafficked, for them to be helped. That is when they can be helped. But if they maintain, or because of shame, one would choose, let me just stay here and do all these things.
And what options do family members back in Botswana have, and what relief can they receive on behalf of their loved ones?
From the government.
From the government, from international organizations.
In fact, if they report such a thing, what we do is
if family members report, we're not hearing from so and so, or they told us that they are.
We received such reports. And then what we do is to investigate with that country. It has been mentioned this individual is staying in this country. So through Interpol, we exchange the information, we investigate together, and to find out if this person feels indeed I've been trafficked. But there is nothing that you can do unless that person is a child. If it's
under 16 or under 18?
Under 18.
18, yeah.
We are supposed to take charge because we had one in Canada, a child was 10 years old. The government had to fight until we managed to repatriate the child back home.
What state were they in psychologically?
The child was okay because the way we took her from was already she was sheltered, she was in good hands, and was being fostered by a certain individual who was ultimately going to adopt that child. But because the mother was here crying for the baby, was in that place, in that country, we had to repatriate the child back to the mother.
And that person was cooperative.
Yes, she was.
Because if they're not cooperating, it would have been a problem. Now let me come to some of our other guests. What sort of people are most vulnerable to human trafficking, Mr. Kuda?
Okay, the starting point is everyone is vulnerable, but of course we have got marginalized groups, and these are women and children. These are the people who are most prone to human trafficking. Like she said earlier on, women are easily enticed because of the promise of better pastures, and also coming to kids. Kids are also, let me not say kids, but people who are younger. Yes, but they are also prone. Even men, young men, okay. Do you qualify? Not Mr. Mabote. No. I think young like me.
Yeah.
Yes, we qualify because of the promise of better pastures. But we've also had situations whereby older people are also enticed, deceived into believing that there are greener pastures out there, and they find themselves to have fallen victim of human trafficking.
Is it just me, Mr. Mabote, who sees this phenomenon as so extreme, where not a single person that I've come across has gone overseas and worked for these jobs and come back more prosperous than when they left? Or is it just something that happens to Botswana? Because I've never come across anybody being so. I don't know how the lie is able to influence people, because you can't point at a single person who's been successfully been overseas for greener pastures in the sense in which these traffickers are, these victims of trafficking are taken.
Now I'll try to classify it as an issue of class, a social class. If you look at the social classes, the poor or the proletariat, humanity ke no gore mo ra ratla rona di teilwe ke tlala gona le tlala e ntse mo la senda Botswana ene gore mona go nyene heta ka gone gona le gone go tembo mahisa ja ro batho ba sela mo as community urbanization of our country, le gore batho ba sela as individuals ya no batho ba bona ke tlala mo matlung a matona mama ba bona ke tlala mo matlung a manyenyane ja no gore ba batla go yere ba sela matshelo a go godimo motho ba a ine alla gore ha ba gaetso ba ka mpona ke ile go kopa go bone ke ka mpa ka kopa le khoa ba tswana ba ntse ja rata makgowa ke tla ntse ke gatela le go o dumela gore ha o ka sotlwa ke motho ile le khoa bogolo ya la ka gore le go o siame hanga go sutlega ke le ko UK ke go ke go sutlega ke le ko ke siame ke so bonang ba tswa ya ka ke tsana mo pointing ya gore le nna ke aga ke le kwano ba ke tle ke bana ba le botokanyana ke ba ba tswang ba ile gore I don't think the human trafficking ke ra le ga ke itse o tla nthusa mo tsana ba gore ba ile gore the professionals bo nurse bo doctors and ba gore ba tsana ba go nna
but there's no empirical evidence how they come back much better off.
Yeah, my brother is doing very well.
No, and it's different, isn't it?
No, it's a different one. Baba ngoba ke ba bona. Bona ke batla ba hedile. Ba kwa hela ba go tswa go tshwara ditlhapi pa kana ba
ira. No, your father is your brother is a surgeon.
Yes,
it's in the different cardiologist, a very different category.
No, baba go teng ba tswa ba go tewa go bereka mo famong kana go tshwara ditlhapi. Kana o iranya la ba batla ba tswa go ba mo ga ba tswana ba go matshinya ka ntse go budiwa. Bona a bophirima. Batho ba le batla ba bolwe ke tlala bana ga se ke bona opela tlhasia na gona ope o tlhasia ba ke go tla gore ke Timberland ya la le jacket tsa beke tse pedi bona ga beke tse pedi mo thateng mo mona wa tsa mo strate mo na ka ga se bona sepela ya go
Mate, can you take the act and break it down for us? Explain to the simple Motswana at home, what does the Anti-Human Trafficking Act contain? Just take us through, give us a mini seminar on the act.
That beautiful piece that is meant to prevent, protect, and suppress, punish trafficking persons. It has a lot. That is to say, when we start with definitions, when it is the issue of a child, like I said, that we need 3 elements for the crime to qualify for a
that part you've explained, yes.
But with a child, we need 2 elements. There is no need for means how the child was trafficked. It is only the act and the purpose. But the child taken from one place to another and exploited, that is sufficient enough to suggest that. It has how can I say beautiful punishments are they because of the minimum issue that not more than this. I think that one is a bit of a gap that has to be closed, because previously we had a case where somebody was found guilty of human trafficking and the sentence was wholly suspended and he was left free thereafter. And we're having collaboration with the social development, who are always there to help us repatriate this individual to their respective places. Be it Ghana, Boeing, this ministry or this department is responsible. We've been repatriating these individuals all over the world to their places, and we do this in collaboration with other organizations like immigration, DIS, labor, all these organizations that the act is giving them authority to hema trafficking persons. And also we've discovered or we've realized it has been taken light for so long and reduce different instruments or legislations, and now we are saying this is the correct act that we are using. So the trafficking persons has a lot
yeah. Now, still in that act, are there things there for lawyers where you believe that there is need to raise awareness within the legal profession about certain things, having interacted with lawyers and legal professionals over the act?
I think the reason why the magistrate
suspended sentence
the act ne santse e le ntšhwa ebile ba se well vested with bothoko ba go traffickiwa ke motho a ba go dirisa jaaka go dirisitse. So ke dio dingwe tse e leng gore re di itemogetse gore all those who are advocating for these perpetrators, all those who are handling cases that trafficking, the prosecutors, but since ba itse gore this crime e bothoko go le kae.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned that Botswana is often used as a conduit, a transit point. Where are most people coming from? Most victims being trafficked through Botswana coming from?
Before we had cases, it's about to Batswabo, Ethiopia, Kobo Zambia, Kobo Zimbabwe, those countries, Kobo Ghana.
Even Ghana.
Yeah,
Ghana is far.
Kobo, yeah, even Kobo Ghana. So, in fact, the reason why they pass through Botswana is because we are next to South Africa. Ghana, South Africa, ke America nyana wa Africa.
Yeah.
So people go to Africa, to South Africa, and it's next to us. Yes.
So you can't single out a particular country where most of the victims are from.
No, I can't. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, would you say that you describe it as a beautiful piece of legislation? So the question is, do you see it as progressive as an advanced and forward-looking piece of legislation?
It is. As a trainer of trafficking persons regionally, we've trained investigators on this, how they should be investigating those cases of trafficking. How do you identify someone that this person could be a victim? Because we used to confuse a victim from a perpetrator, that as long as you've entered our country without documents, it means you are a perpetrator. So we have trained police officers. We've been to the borders doing public education, because most of these people, they go through our borders. We've been to the borders, community outreaches, and even training the immigration personnel that this is how you can identify somebody who is being trafficked. Like I mentioned, they use control measures. How high hit the border ring horo bela like how bona motho a teng a tshwaretse le motho di passport. Gore motho ka hore o motona ka na ibile o lebega ana le boikarabelo. Why would you hold that person's passport? And when you ask that person, where are you going? The person who is going to answer is your trafficker. We are going to Molepolole. How do this one? So that is how the immigration personnel.
Then how do you then suddenly break that situation? Do you suddenly say, come this side, break them up?
Yeah, to investigate. We had a case where a certain Zimbabwean trafficked children, they were on their way to, I think, Ireland, and they were intercepted in Joburg. When children were asked, how le Motswana how go wa thoka go itse bo pula yana dumela, a child is not responding to dumela, and then e ka ipula ko Botswana, this child is puzzled, and the immigration personnel had to call Botswana to say, we are retaining these people because we suspect this man is trafficking these kids. Only to learn or realize after investigating that they were kidnapped from Zimbabwe, from the school. Somebody went there and took 3 kids and then came to Botswana, baba biza maina a mosadi o na re ke bana ba gagwe be ba direla di documents tsa Botswana. So that interaction ya motho wa immigration personnel, it helped a lot.
Saved a lot.
Yeah.
There is also the system where people can be trafficked through large trucks via transit. And we've had a case some years ago where people actually died because of lack of oxygen there. A, how prevalent are those type of cases? B, what does the Act do for those situations?
those are smuggling cases. They are not trafficking cases.
Oh, I see.
We need to distinguish between trafficking and smuggling.
Mm.
Remember, the smuggling issue is the smuggling initiated. That even if I can go underneath, it will be fine as long as I can reach that destiny. And most of people who are being smuggled through our country are people from Zimbabwe, especially during school holidays. The children, their parents are staying in South Africa. They are working in South Africa. So normally they will hire the smuggler to say, can you bring along my kids when you come from Zimbabwe? So these are the people that are normally smuggled with those lorries. And even the drums, some people use the
I'm sure some people don't even survive those trips. And how do you handle such?
Because we are having the social welfare officers, they take care of the welfare of these people. Some places they are not even disclosed to us. They are only known by the people who kept those individuals or these victims. So they are sheltered there until the investigations are complete and then repatriated back to their country while we deal with the perpetrator or the smuggler. Yeah.
Mr. Kuda, as someone who's from Zimbabwe, what and your country keeps being mentioned, what are the factors that make your countrymen vulnerable, and how are they being addressed?
I think generally because of the current state of the economy, many people see Botswana, South Africa to be greener pastures. Some even go to as further as the UK, some go to Arabic countries, all in search for greener pastures. So these are some of the things that push people to end up falling victim into human trafficking. And what has been done to prevent this? Honestly speaking, the law is there, right?
Where? In Zimbabwe?
Yes, the law is there. Even the law is here in Botswana. We have got Interpol, which is there. Zimbabwe is also part of Interpol. Interpol, which is working hand in hand. Many countries working hand in hand to curb international crimes. But you still find people you still find people falling victim of human trafficking. So I think it's not a matter of the law. The law seems to be okay. The law is progressive, but people, by virtue of being people, they'll always find a loophole somewhere. They'll always find means, ways. Corruption is on the rise now. So even at times, people can be smuggled through borders,
with the permission of immigration officials?
Well, it's there. Corruption is there. Corruption. Imagine a situation in which maybe illegal immigrants, right? They are caught at debate. I get. So they are caught at debate, but then the question that you ask yourself is, how did they get to debate? There are roadblocks all along the way. So how did they get there? It can only lead to one question: either corruption or maybe police officers were not on the watch. Yes.
Mr. Mabote, just from the point of view of someone, a traditionalist like you, from the village, how is the level of awareness in the community in Kanye about the dangers and the risks and the occurrence of this crime of both smuggling and trafficking?
Bao hela motorongo. Ke karabele nka yuanga wa. Bao hela motorongo se hore anta ta ba Botswana kana ba ya ka ni ba rona kudi a bua. Ne ga nna le because of economic situation tsa Zimbabwe ne ba ga gona le batho ba lotsola Zimbabwe ba tlang kono ba le bantsi. Ne otho ba lotsola Zimbabwe ba ha gongwe ba because of survival instincts the ba ke baagi ke go ra kopane le eno itla gore ke jack of all trades. Itla ga tlhagola ira sengwe le sengwe go famong a ira ba le bantsi jaanong ba itumelelwa ka gore ba ga rona le bone ba tswana kana bana le ba leng teng ba tswana le bone bana le ba leng teng ba ba bo itse megogo e seng botlhe tiro tsa diatla ya Botswana ka re ha o tlo a dirwa Botswana o tsong o tla batla madi a mantsintsi mme ha o mara gore wa mo duela ba go nna ka tsasa sa bereki so someone who has o kile gore wa itse struggle ena itse gore kana ha ke sa je ke ira ene wa tla ba tsena a bereka gore Botswana ba hela ba ira go mo ke sa itse gore o tla tsara go ngwe go tlhoka go itse ba ela ba berekisa batho ba ha se na mmerekisa ka gore wa itse gore ga na dipampiri bile o tla ba ira ka bongwe o tla ba gorare aha ha rwa bua re ke kopa o ntuela o ra ke go bua lai wa ke a go kolota we mona we ke usa police ka motho a modimo ka gore le ene o na le gore o ka ba nna le tshwanelo ya human trafficking wa re ai wa ka nya police ya ra re ya wa ba si gore ha si ya wa go siela go se ba go tlela gore motho a le mongwe hela o ka bo gongwa a sireletswe ke molao le teng mo sireletse wa go exploit ke batho ba le bo 100 a tswa ha tsenale a tswa ha tsenale go ntsi thata ke tsa gore Batswana sentse gore ka ene ke tswetswang ka ba Botswana police le program like this one e re tseng gore le ntshala awareness ba tla ithuta thata gore ba lemo gore se ba se dirang ke molato
So what are the challenges, Madam, associated with investigating these type of cases?
Trafficking in persons is not an easy case that one can merely investigate. You need to be trained. You need to be very patient because sometimes it involves other countries, right? So investigating from one country to another is not an easy thing. And a crime may be a crime in Botswana, but in another country is not a crime. For instance, if Botswana is saying any person under the age of 18 years is a child, and another country is saying under the age of 16, so they will think a 16-year-old person may decide. So the conflict of the laws, when the laws are in conflict, it becomes so difficult because we will assume we should be having our laws harmonized regionally so that we can be dealing with this issue really of the same
from the same page.
And then also, like I said, it involves other stakeholders. Or if nakele mo gear 5, another stakeholder and ale mo gear 3, so you are delaying my case. I need your report as a social worker. When I was you can take your time when I want it to be done like instantly. So these are the challenges. Also, like I have said, human trafficking. It's very expensive to keep a trafficking person in your country. That is, you are going to be providing welfare for that person. And if you can see already the penalties at the ending sejang, ke molato o motona o tshwana le mmeta ga o e dire gone go ela be hell. So it takes time for you to complete a case of trafficking in persons, and it's so expensive to the country that is keeping the victims of trafficking. Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. To what extent has technology helped or hindered this? By that I'm referring to the digital era, the use of the internet. Has it made it easier to engage in the crime, or has it made it easier to detect? Is it a positive or a negative? And if so, tell us how you've...
It's the same. It has worsened the situation because now the recruitment can be done through Facebook, online, and it's easy for you or send your a photo of somebody else who portray so if somebody is saying that this is my picture, this is who I am, and all these things did worse. And how you've done that through social media
I've also read that this is a multi-billion pula and multi-US dollar industry. Where is the money? How do they make money?
If I have employed you, Mister, to work for me as a maid, and I'm not paying you, that saves your money. Also, if I'm having a brothel, the person who's been paid is me, the owner of the brothel. Remember, the victim is not paid anything. And to service the brothel, it's okay. So you are going to make a lot of money out of that. Yes.
Through the exploitation. That's why exploitation is an essential part of the crime.
Yes.
You want to add to that, Mr. Kuda?
Yes, just to add on, I mean, we've also had people who are taken there and exploited, so working in farms. So imagine a mega farm, instead of hiring people per wage, according to the law, you're not paying them anything. I mean, imagine how much one could save from that. I mean,
This explains why, according to some people, we built the West from Africa for 500 years. We were not paid for the slavery. So this is how it happened. So
that is true.
So it contributed all those years. Now, are there any changes that need to be done to the law to help fight the scourge?
The changes, that's when if they can
Have minimum sentences.
have a minimum sentence.
A minimum mandatory sentence.
And then if we can do more of training to both the police, the prosecutors, more of training, it's required. And changes in the law, I think but to ensure we're in line with whatever that is happening. We incorporate the same
Some countries have things like Sharia law, and I don't know whether Dubai and some certain Arab countries. Is it more of a challenge where you are dealing with a country that practices Sharia law when you are trying to investigate these things?
Like I said, if the laws conflict, it becomes difficult. Like other countries will hang somebody for drug trafficking.
Yes.
But in Botswana, we are not
We don't
doing that. So if they know somebody, in fact, in human trafficking, the way reduce Sananka thing is like the jurisdiction doesn't matter. Motswana adrile trafficking at South Africa and not prosecuted in South Africa, we can prosecute that person here. Despite the crime was not committed in Botswana. So
because of what? Some treaties?
Yeah. The law and the law itself it states that the jurisdiction matters not. And because of penalize yang ba bang ba dira jang mo di issues tsa trafficking tsone re lekile ka bojothe gore re dumalane, and the definition how ya go bona ya Zimbabwe ya kai ya tshwana because of the UN protocol.
Yes.
Ya Palamo ile gore rote re ne re dumalana ho gore this is how we are supposed to punish this individuals. Yes.
Mr. Mabote, do you believe hanging should be introduced as a crime for this particular, as punishment for this particular crime?
Tota go sotla ka motho wa ke tsa ke molato extreme kana motho wa raba ta ya vulnerable tota wa ba sotlegile o tsa re go role ka go itirela botshelo wena wa matsawa go mo dirisa go lebe go tla tswa gore me o dirisa ke gore ha ikala a ira molato teng ke o kae na ra ikala gore go tsa motho na iperekela go o gane go mo duela ya lana ngwa kgala ditlhara re go robotsa motho wa go mo ka letsa go ntsa gore ke sa go le extreme mme o bona mo ga di brothel gone mo ene gore o tla batho ba tsewa ba iswa go di brothel tela e ke sa re ke tshwanela tsone tsa botsa go ripa go no monyi kana motho a ba sna boikarabe go tota motho a ba sna go roka ite ka garo o mo topela le dibatsi sa gore go mo nnela di cocaine mo nnela ditagi gape ka mo tsetse passport o re o mo tsetse botshelo o re o sule a ka le dibe ke ra go ntsela go motho ona o ka le tseng ga mo hela go batho ba tlhadi ya gore botse go nna na se di siame.
So if there are aggravating factors, hanging is the right punishment. I wonder if the lawyer agrees.
Yes, I do. Imagine people being trafficked for organ harvesting. Imagine. I mean, that aggravates everything. And definitely, I think it warrants the death sentence, without doubt.
But such is not the law, eh?
Well, unfortunately, the law is not yet there. But I believe with time, the law will get there. Just like as of recent, the assistant superintendent can help. Isn't it is it now a bill or an amendment that has been put to the effect that the death sentence is to be imposed on all drug lords? Is it?
Or which country?
Botswana. I've heard something of that sort.
Maybe there was just discussions.
Maybe it was a discussion. I don't know. Yes.
But still on that point, do the victims of human trafficking have the ability or capacity to sue their tormentors, the perpetrators? Can they sue for damages or whatever losses they may have suffered?
Yes, they can. Victims can sue, but before you sue someone, which might be the hard part, especially in human trafficking, you need to know who exactly you are suing, where you are suing them, where to get them. You need to know this. So it's very possible for a victim to sue damages, to sue to say I was deceived, I was lied to, there was misrepresentation. It's very possible. But then the question then would be, who are you suing? Because many a times, because it's a syndicate, it's then difficult to know who exactly am I suing? Who exactly is the boss of this syndicate? It's then difficult to do so, but it's very possible to sue if you know the person who was instrumental.
What do you have to prove in court to succeed?
Okay. First and foremost, you have to prove who the defendant is. I get it. You are suing this person trafficked me, so you have to be able to prove that. Then number two, you have to be able to prove that you were deceived. There was some fraudulent misrepresentation that took place. And then number three, you have to prove that there was some sort of patrimonial loss, there was some sort of monetary loss. That is to say, maybe you went out of pocket applying for visas, having to go to maybe some Asian country, being told how thing you're going to be a chef or a nurse, only to get there and realize, I'm being put in a brothel. So you have been put out of pocket based on a lie, based on a misrepresentation, so you can claim damages for that. And then supposing you have also suffered some sort of emotional pain, you have suffered some mental anguish of some sort, you can also claim all that to say I went through pain and suffering. And supposing maybe it's Mr. Mabote, I get it, Chief Marketing Officer, he's then told her, I get it, there's a better job, and then about on the impression that there's a better job, he can sue loss of income. He can sue for loss of income, because he's saying, had it not been of this lie, had it not been of this false misrepresentation, I could have still been working, I wouldn't have resigned, and I would have earned so much wages. Therefore, these wages, I'm demanding them from the defendant, the person who misled me, who misrepresented me fraudulently.
And adding on that one, the Section 24 of the Anti-Human Trafficking Act.
Yes.
Section 24.
Yes.
It exempts a victim of trafficking from paying damages should case is exempted from paying those damages.
Yes.
Are you including legal costs?
Yes.
That's very unusual.
Yes. No, I
It's
think
almost like the law is encouraging lawsuits of this nature.
Yeah.
Yes, the law is.
It's very interesting. I think it's the only time I've come across such a provision. Yeah, very, very, very.
Thuso ya batho.
Hmm?
O siame ke bona re go bo thuso ya batho.
Yeah. In terms of the type of cases you've been having, what did you say, Sub-Inspector or Superintendent, is the Assistant Superintendent, is the most egregious case that you've encountered?
Obviously, as a child protection officer, I will always mention that any case of trafficking persons which involves a child pains me like nobody's business. There was a case that involved a minor who was trafficked to Gaborone and was exploited sexually. And I think, unfortunately, the perpetrator died before the case was completed.
Oh my.
That's why it was closed. Yes.
That's sad.
Died from what? Natural causes?
I think that was the time that's about COVID. Yes.
So the child...
But the child was kept there, and it's like so many people, men, came, sexually abused him and paid that
Oh, it's a him.
that relative, her. They sexually abused her and paid the relative who brought her from home to stay in Gaborone.
Home being some foreign country.
Local,
Botswana.
yes. So they are there, these issues.
Okay. So maybe the fate that befell him it turned out to be maybe the wrath. Could it have been righteous
Judgment from above.
yeah, could it have been righteous indignation and wrath? Could it be? We wanna Mr.
Yeah, ora tlhokaetse.
Gore magodimo le one na re
A mo lwela, o lwela ngwana.
Nna ba lela ngwana. Nya bone wa kere o ile ko go Saturday o tlhamaetse. Wana ile wa rena sa na go tla o ko mollong ka gore batho ba go mollong. Sa gore ne itlhamaetse.
yeah.
Ke ka go botsa Supretendant gore ba no ha motho a o tsa batho ba tokoteki ba bana ba street kids bo ba nna mo mekgwateng abo ba wa go botsa o mo rehabilitate ka tsela ngwe ka ba a go bereka yana mo ya sengwe ka go mo rehabilitate yana kana ja a go ga tena ke molao tsena bota go tshwara go te kana ra tsere motho go se ke motho go bile wa nda e jwa bereka
Kana as long as o tsere ngwana not for the purpose of exploitation. O mo tsela go mo thusa. Ga se kganye go ka teng because street kids are vulnerable also. Motho ka heta ba rola hela ya kwa ka yang ka bone a ya go ba dirisa. But if your intention is to help that child, I don't think you've committed a crime. Unless you know merekisa dilo tse leng gore molao wa bana wa re ha ile gore tiro mo dirisang is dangerous to the health of that child. Yes.
Exposes the child to danger, puts the child to danger, threatens the life of the child.
So let's talk to those young ladies there who are between the ages of 18 and 26 who are the most vulnerable. If there are rules to live by or defense mechanisms that they should put in place to protect themselves against falling victims, what are maybe the top 5 rules they should live by?
The top 5. She could be saying the top 2. I like that, like the attorney was saying previously, there are push and pull factors when it comes to human trafficking. There are these things that make you take a silly decision of selling your vehicle because you want to buy a ticket and fly out for greener pastures. The factors behind that. So, as much as unemployment contributes towards that, I really don't know what I can say to those people, but they should be very careful on the agreements for employment. Also, Ghana, these people normally are people who are having kids. So what you do, your kid will do. If you are selling yourself for the purpose of survival, obviously we are going to have our kids doing the same thing. So people are supposed to be so cautious of the decisions that they make. For how do they fend for themselves? And going to other countries also, like you have not seen anybody coming back rich. They should think twice. Because back home you will be staying in your house.
At least you get the papa.
Coming to Gaborone and go to Namolaluba in Gaborone. You are going to pay rent for that with that money. And you end up being exploited because you prefer I guess. And that person is exploiting you.
Yeah.
Ke ke re bua ka gore ba botsa re
Ba itshireletse jang?
ba itshireletse jang. Nyame ke go itshireletsa gantsi ke go itsheka-tsheka yana le bone le bomme gore tota ke eng ba dira jalo gore ba seka ba kgatlhiwa ke dilo tsa di-social media thata, ba kgatlhiwa ke botshelo jwa segompieno jwa nobonobo wa batho kana dilo tsa social media go motho o ka bona go tsa ke itsa ke apere shutu ke le ga ke re ga o itse gore ke tshela jang nna kana ka gore o ka le ga camera o batla go etsa motho o monang ka gore ke influencer kana go ga ntse be le batho ba leng gore ba tshutse ba ba le ntlenyana ke na bana le montlenyana ka gore ga tsenya mo social media o bona o na le 100,000 likes. 100,000 likes on social media doesn't translate into gore o na le madi ya be go raya gore batho ba tobeditse ba re they like the picture. Jaanong gone mo ke gone gore ke go tshela botshelo jo ba hitile gore go batla go tsa go na le bole bo re ba leng gore ba hetele ka dingwaga le sengwe le sengwe motho o batla go tsa shortcut ya botshelo a ba nyatsa ba leng gore ke ba lekane ba gago kana ke batho ba lekane mo seemong sa itsholelo a santse gore ka ba nna itse gore go ka dumereng go batla go out of this great a le ke gore ai tšaba tsebela iperekela le ke gore a ngakala ikokwanya pele a ba re ka gore kana batla ba re ga gona sepe se se tsang mo go bona gore dipeng gore motho ga robala lo mongwe o tsereseng gore a batho ga robala le monna le mo sa monno o robala le lo o tsereseng o le ga robala le gante yana ga o ikitse gore o mangwa re ga go tsebe sepe mo go yana mme go tseba se tsoso bana yere motho ga re ipilo a ba tlhola a bona ga tja re motho ga re ipilo go te 30 years for o sa tsa sepe o tsereseng so ba itse gore so se bana le sone se kana bo tlo ya boneo ke sengwe ga se ka ba batla gore ba go dirisa ya ka ticket go a le godimo a ba nne grounded ya la ba le ke gore ba itse sentle ba se ka ba tsaya gore botshelo bo ko ba goeng go se le botshelo bo teng mo gae ba le ke gore ba ithute gore botshelo jo mo gae ba tsa dinentse ba bo dira jang ke gone mo gore na ke tsa go ka wa thusa gore ba se ka ba exploit ya jang.
Mr. Kuda, what's your word of advice? What preventative measures or shall I say defense mechanisms can we put in place?
All right. I think first and foremost, whether you are here in Botswana or anywhere, whether there's a job opportunity locally or abroad or whatsoever opportunity, number one, be cautious. Be on the guard. Always look at everything with an eye of suspicion. Ask yourself, does this make sense? Going to Dubai, earning $15,000 per month, does this make sense? Ask yourself these questions. You are being asked to come to maybe I think some other Asian country. We're going to be offering you a job. Are you qualified for that job? You know, you find yourself being in a position whereby someone on the phone is telling you come with no skill. We saw the standard 7 3 and someone is telling you no skill is required. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So let's be cautious. Look at everything with suspicion. Supposing a job offer.
Have some healthy skepticism.
Yes,
about some of these things.
Yes, yes. Supposing maybe you've gotten a job offer, something has been sent to you on Gmail. Do not hesitate to visit the police and say, "Bakhethu, I've been offered this job. Go Iran, go Iraq, go UK, go Dubai. Aaron, can you possibly help me to investigate?" You can go to the US Embassy with any offer letter from an American company and say, "I've been offered this job by a company in the USA. You are the embassy. Can you help me verify this?" It's very possible. It's very possible to do so. But then I don't know what excitement it's a guy as youthful people to say when we see an offer online and someone writes an email to say you've been offered. Oh my God! Hey, for which these are people who might be able to assist. And one thing that I've noticed with the younger generation is they are secretive. They like it when all of a sudden post go airport, to get a surprise. Oh, why didn't you tell us where you're going to Dubai? And many a times as youth would be thinking, no, we're being secretive, we're going to surprise people. But in you doing so, you're not exposing yourself to people who might know what
might be able to help you. Yeah,
people who might be able to say, we've walked down this road. Don't go down this road.
So the message is watch out.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Be on the look.
On the lookout. So before we close, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, would you care to talk a bit more about the NGOs you work with and tell us how you work with them? And maybe indicate where people can get help, how they can help our viewers on this subject.
The NGOs that normally helps us is when we are looking for shelters, temporary shelters, to shelter our victims, while the social development officers are still working on how they can shelter these people elsewhere. That is Mombasadi, war.
Law?
War.
Yeah, what does that stand for?
Against rape.
Yeah.
Source, child line. These are the organizations that really helps us to care for our victims. Because
don't they offer resources for those who may be contemplating accepting these offers? Can they also go there to get some advice?
Yes, even for us, they can provide training. Like last week, the source organization had to train some of us, and the UNICEF is always most of the time engaged to train officers and IOM, those organizations.
UNICEF, United Nations Children's Emergency Fund.
Yes. And the IOM, International Organization of Migrants. These people are involved in repatriating these victims.
So there's plenty of resources to assist you at any stage of the process if you are a victim, even if you're a potential victim.
Yes. We always get that assistance from NGOs.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What would be your final message to our viewers on this subject? And while you are doing that, I'll start with Mr. Kuda, going that way. Also share your contacts as we wrap up our conversation.
All right. Final words, like I've said before, be on the lookout. Have an eye of skepticism, and above all, don't fall for cunningly devised fables. Don't. It's something that the youth of today easily fall prey into. But whichever way, supposing you find yourself as a victim, do not hesitate to contact us. You can contact us on 397-4002 or on the second floor of Mogobe Plaza in the CBD of Gaborone. Thank you very much. We are available on all social media platforms as Lerumo Mogobe Legal Practitioners. Thank you for having us, sir.
Most welcome.
nyana ke tsa gore batswana ba ithute ba tla tloga ba tle go hela mo toronko ka gore ba rata go lebelela di-soap thata ba lebelela ba tlo gore tse mmino go binwa jaana ga ba rate gore etsa sepe se e leng gore se na le kitso ya molao jaaka thulaganyo tshwana le legal series mme ebile ke tsa gore sentse re a kgole Botswana police gore ba re tlile gore ga tlholola tota ba ruta ka tiro ya go tshwana le ya go nna yana re dine gore tle bere ka le bone ka moso Supretendant mme se se tona ke gore like the police ka ba trainer jang ba traine bogolo jang thata ka gore ba bereka le dikgosi wana ka gore nna ke motho wa ngwa ga lo ka tsamolo ka mo training lo la tsenya dikgosi mo training ya teng ba dikgosi be di ruta le morahe batho ba tla na le kitso e tseneletseng motho from bogosi morahe ya na community go ka nna motho wa thata gore batho ba tle ba itse ka the human trafficking Botswana ke tsa gore tso ntse ba se itse mme ya gore lo tshwaragane le rona ko Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast mo YouTube. Ke one yana mo le gore ha lo re batla lo ditlela Mogobe Incorporated first floor. Ha lo rata go toka kwa. Ke a leboga.
Okay.
Thank you,
Over
sir.
to
All
you.
I can say is human trafficking is there. People should know human trafficking is there. And Botswana is not spared from human trafficking. We are being trafficked as well. And the Botswana Police Service is having officers who are manning the issue of human trafficking based at CID headquarters under Interpol. So those officers investigate those cases. Anything that seems like human trafficking, report it to them. And also, we are ready, we are prepared to protect against anyone against any form of abuse of trafficking persons. This is to say, our emphasis is on preventing trafficking persons, to suppress it, and to punish it.
Yes.
Our contact person is the obvious 999 that can be used by anyone. Our Facebook page, and as well as report to the nearest police station. Thank you, sir.
Okay. How do people get in touch with you for further enlightenment?
My number, my office number at Broadhurst is 362-4106. 362-4106. If 6 is not going through, 678. That is
Okay.
our extension.
Social
Yes.
media?
The social
Botswana Police.
media, Botswana Police Facebook page.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Let me just take a moment to say this is a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and devastating issue that makes one want to cry because the victims are there. We read about them in newspapers. Some of them are brothers and sisters, and this is a highly preventable occurrence. You need to enlighten yourself. Don't take any shortcuts in life. The information is readily available. Rona here from the legal series, we've done our part in terms of enlightening you, and we're so grateful to the assistant superintendent to have come out of her busy schedule to come and share with us like this. This information is really, really important and will make a difference. And once again, let me thank Lerumo Mogobe Legal Practitioners, the law firm I founded more than 3 decades ago, for having sponsored us here at Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. And once again, a bit of shameless plug. Nuggets of Grit is available, guys. The book is only $350, and it's available here on the second floor on Mogobe Plaza, or you can call 397-1368 to get hold of the book. Alternatively, go to Exclusive Books. Also, please do not neglect to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, it's Mogobe, your host, signing off. Let's say bye-bye to the viewers.